In the name of God, in the name of Allah. Thank you so much, Dr. Saif, and God bless you to this great presentation. And I would like to thank all the organizers, brothers and sisters of this great, important forum. Talk about the lobbies that have to have a presentations. How did we reach to this point? And before the fall of the Soviet Union, about like in 90 and 1991, we focused, when we talk about the United States specifically, is the Soviet, Russia dangerous, and their vision towards the Islamic movement are less aggressions, and they trying to benefit from that and what's happening in Afghanistan in this many contexts. And with the movement, Islamic movement emerged up, like in the 60s or even before that. It was new, it was great, it was in control to be more, have impact in their society. And there was some kind of feelings. It was an important element to stand in front of the Soviet communist principles. It's not like right now we see this kind of aggression and animosity, except the Zionist voices that they have direct aggression, direct animosity toward Islam, those who take Islam as an enemy. I can historical say the subject, what it's called the Islam, the Islamic movement or politic Islams, that they're trying to stand in front of the issues related to the Arab Zionist conflicts, and also relations or related to the other issue of international suppression. And this we can have some history even before the fall of the Soviet Union, with the increase of the first rallying and oppositions, and there was some also that something started from the Mossad themselves, and they sent some agents to penetrate into the American policies. And the first penetration was in the 89. Joseph Bodansky, he was able to penetrate the system and establish institutions inside the American Congress from the Republicans and the Democrats. But when the Democrats got the evidence that this person that's controlled by outside powers, and then they change it to the Republican past course in terrorism and unconventional warfare. So it's like a group that they're concerned with the untraditional wars and terrorism. And also started like all these reports start coming and issuing one by one. And why? Because of the Islamic movement, emerged, and they realized that there is some risk towards the coming from the Islam, and especially Palestinians. It's a big issue, and also there is academic study came that it has the general framework of why the Islam, politic Islam. I also hate this word and this term, but just to be distinguished from the traditional Islam, that is the enemy, that is the future enemy. Dr. Shankiti also talked about Huntington, but before Huntington there was a brilliant Lewis. He was also talking about this issue, and in September also issue between in 2000 and 2001. We don't have time to talk about that, but after 9/11 of September, this issue became official, and before that it wasn't official. We did conferences in the United States, so the Zionist institutions, they come and they write reports about these conferences, and they send these reports to the American governments. I was there at that time. This is not going to do anything anyway. After September 11, there was a public general policy, and this is an important presentation, like a front. There is a need to the superpower like United States. After the fall of the Soviet Union, now we have this issue, but it's also called, it's the polar, And this is an issue related to the defense and security, etc. And this is related to the revolution of Islamic revolution in Iran. It has two parts. One of them is the Sunni movements, and also we have a country like Iran. Their project is like related to the political Islam. That's another thing, and one of the justification. Now we have three questions we have to reply to, and we concise that in 3 words: why, and how, and what. Why? There's like the response to the questions. What is the big strategy to this classifications or this kind of issues, and how we can reply and respond to the strategy, and why you can reply or how you can reply to the policies. So we have to distinguish between these 3 issues, and we talk about the policies. Before I conclude that what happened yesterday, it's not like a classification to the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and might shock some people, and they were able to get out from the legal framework, and they classified the Muslim Brotherhoods in Lebanon by the classifications, in Jordan and other places nearby. And why is it different? Now we go back, why issue, why they call it grand strategy, and what is the entire grand strategy, a grand strategy to this issue. And the first thing is the building like a regional bloc, and this goes to tens of years ago. Why now? Because Trump is different than other American presidents, and this was actually existent since Clinton, since the previous presidents of the United States, but they always avoid that because they think this is a big loss of that. And also we can understand why Trump is the one who recognized the Al-Quds as a capital in Israel, Jerusalem, capital in Israel, and they exceed that and they reject that, and they came and said, I will do it, because he is he's a bad person. He is not to think too much. He's only think about himself. Such a sociopath, and he is mentally ill, and anything that he's just talking in the Republican Party and other entities, and can make that as a policy for himself, and they try to reduce the problems. That's why the classification is something and the other side is something else. So try to build this regional bloc. I don't want to exceed the time against the political Islam. And also the second thing is to reforming the political movement into the American society. So that means we are be able, and that the Muslims and the United States, they were able to penetrate so many institutions, and this actually made all the this Zionist institutions so worried about that. And there were some people, some officials, and also some institutions that can penetrate to the issue of the process of decision making, and they are trying to bothering us, and they prosecute us, and but they see this Zionist, the leftists especially. This existence of Islam is so hard to avoid. The only community that they are able to plan, and they are the only one, and they also can affect the elections in the future on forming the policies, and they want themselves that they can deal with it, that there is some difficulties. This type of classification, especially if there is genocide war, to reforming this awareness, and they keep it away and work on the Islam issues. That's when they work in 9/11 until 2007 and 17. And also Washington found that there is some big problems after the war of genocide in Gaza, and they trying to reforming and rebuilding again the balances related to the impact of this genocide war and its effectiveness on the Western countries, and where there's the repercussions, especially the Tufan al-Aqsa. And in brief, there is an objective, a regional objective related to the existence inside the Arab and Islamic societies power that fearing from the political Islam. And this is not a secret. They say that, and there is a 3-4 systems. They think that there is a great threat, and it doesn't matter what it's called, Muslim Brotherhoods or non-Muslim Brotherhoods. There is a great threat to the future of this, especially after the Arab Spring, to these systems, and related also to reforming the Arab societies. And this issue, it was very clear after that. And I will talk about numbers in a while. And there is some Zionist movement, and this is something that we call these American objectives inside, because of Trump and the MAGA group, and they want to change the American society in something related to cultural, social, internal issues, and so to have a title as an enemy, which is Islam here, can cover this section very well. And the issue now, which is the strategies. And also, because they have short time, I will talk about that later. And there is a legislative strategy. It has more than 20 years. There's always to have legislations against Islam or against the Islamic movement, or maybe against the scholars of Islam, and also the Sharia of Islam. And after 9/11, after 20 years, there is like executive strategy in the Congress done by the President through the executive system strategy. Something also, there's something called also general affairs, and something related to the research centers, and also to damaging the face of Islam. And because of the time, I will jump on that. But also there is a grid or a network, a great network, like so much money like to spend, like it's been mentioned by Dr. Saif. Islamophobia spent so much millions of dollars. There is research centers that came to destroy the Islamic image, and so this issue should be specialized. Even Islam, name in the mental, Western mentality, they feel fear about that. Tufan al-Aqsa, they, destroyed so many concepts and many issues. Let people think differently, especially the leftists and also and the rightists. And this is very important, and it has so many details. And now, according to the policies, which is the third subject, I will jump also to other issues. Now, this is related to many articles. The first article is that they are using the legal frame mechanisms. In other meanings, that this is also came, or maybe they tried in 1995 in the beginning, before there was a law, and also there was some like an executive presidential resolutions, and it's very limited that the president cannot do everything without legislation. So the first legislation came in 1995, and what it's called the Foreign Terrorist Designation, organization designations. So they can classify one of the movement as a terrorist movement. It started with the Palestinians movements, and that some organizations been classified like that, but there are hundreds of movements, and they use this type of law, but this can justify that by a terrorist act. So this idea of Muslim Brotherhoods in the UK or United States is so difficult. They can bring evidence related to the Brotherhood, Muslim Brotherhoods in Egypt, so because they don't have anything or related to this issue. Lebanon is different because they have an armed militia and entered some of the simple operations, and it's very easy to say that, and because they are close to Hezbollah. But the Muslim Brotherhoods in Jordan or in Lebanon is impossible. So when this classification came yesterday, and it came from the State Department, which is that they are entitled to classify that. And the president, he cannot do that, but the State Department, they are entitled to do that, and they have the authority to classify classify that. And as I mentioned, for tens of years through the legislations, and we see that all the supporters to these issues go back to how give money from the Zionist lobby with the millions of dollars it's been paid to them in the previous elections campaign. Maybe like $200 million. Also, there's some under-the-table payments, and also all the research centers. And I didn't bring so many numbers, but just to give you an idea that a country like the United Arab Emirates, this is can register and they spend on this type of campaign, and there's also classifications. Only for 2 years, 20 and 21, $64 million. This is exists in the Ministry of Justice, and this is registered. All the people that they get money, they should go to the Ministry of Justice, and they can say, we received this much of money, this lump sum of money. And how many meetings they met with the Congress? 10,675 meetings. And I remember when the system or the regime was changed, or the coup against the former president Mohammed Morsi. Some people, they tried to go to the Congress, and some like regular people, from the public. First meetings organized was in November. After 4 months, so the Congress told them, "Where are you? Where were you? Good morning." So we always meet with the Israeli or Saudi Arabian ambassadors, and this is done with the professionals. This is only a country. How about the other countries like KSA? In 1 year or 2 years, it's $670 million. So there is a great, number of money paid, and why? As I mentioned, because there is some fear from the political movement, political movement that could, affect the current situation. Now we go back to distinguish, because of the time, what is the difference between the classifications of the Treasury and the State Department? Who classified the Ministry of Department is not the State of Department classified the Muslim Brotherhood. They cannot say they are terrorists for the Muslim Brotherhood, because they say like Hamas and Jihad, Hezbollah are terrorists. Now Muslim Brotherhoods in Lebanon, they are terrorists. So any people who belong to this movement, he is a terrorist. But in the United States, there is something called the prime amendments of the law, because you need or you have the right to believe in any of the movements of Muslim Brotherhoods or Hamas, as long as you don't do anything. Maybe I can stand in any square and I say I'm a member of Hamas and I'm American. They cannot actually arrest you. But if you say I'm Hamas and I advise Hamas not to use violence, or you should actually just to recognize Israel, you get this is like an advice, you get 15 years in prison. So because it's a constitution issue, the ideology, constitutional issue, if someone came and said, I actually believe in all the Muslim Brotherhood, the principles, but if we say, for example, I need Hamas to do this or that, he will be prosecuted under the judgment of that he is giving an advice for Hamas. You cannot give advice, but you cannot do anything related to violence. There's a change in 2010. And we go back again here and say, what happened yesterday to Muslim Brotherhoods in Lebanon and Egypt related to classifications of the Treasury. Why and what does it mean? The Treasury of the United States, they cannot classify, I cannot actually do as Muslim Brotherhoods as a terrorist group. They just say, or they can just say that to be a member of that could actually result into a terrorist act, and this you have to specify their name. So say this person, for example, he is the one they can take action or do something. But on this specific institution, so what is the purpose yesterday? It's to damage the image of the name. They cannot actually distinguish the State Department or Treasury, but what's happening is the classification. And the most important thing, if you classify it from the State Department, you can prosecute within 30 days to go and prosecute them, but you have to be have some harm or to show the harm. At least the judge can take that into consideration. Like to be successful is almost zero, but you don't have any right anyway. And they solve this problem. They always had a problem how they can convince a judge on somebody like a prosecutor that this is a terrorist group. So they went to the Treasury. You have no right to prosecute. Who is the person who got harmed here? If one of the Muslim Brotherhood's person and he's American, he lives in Egypt, the only thing that they can say that my reputation can be damaged. So, but the Treasury, they didn't put his name directly to be a terrorist. You have 1 minute, please. I have so many information. I'm trying to concise here and conclude this issue in a very simple way, that the Zionist lobbies and Arab lobbies, they were integral part from this campaign. This campaign is more than 20 years, and they were succeeded because we have an administration, they don't care about anything. And Trump, he's doing everything they want. Maybe he wake up in the morning, he do anything he wants without any consultation to anyone. And at the end, this came and that. So the other issue is the effectiveness of the Gaza and Tufan al-Aqsa. This played a big role because you see what's happening in this classification. The whole thing is like Palestine. It has nothing to do with any other issue. So there was some pressure related to Palestine. What's happening today is the destruction of the freedom, democracy of the United States and the law, and all that will be destroyed because of Gaza and because of the Zionist lobbies. And this is not going to go out of this circle related to how they can see Islam or the Islamic movement or the public movement and their support, very little support. So what they did anyway, many Islamic movement in the Tufan al-Aqsa, they're just praying, crying, shouting, but there wasn't like in this magnitude of this action, this act. Anyway, these are the reasons in general and in brief. We are talking about the trends. Some of them are legal frames, some of them media, some of them legislation, and some are executive. And this system, we meant that first of all, as the damaging the political Islamic image, and the biggest group in the Islamic world, at least like the Sunni Arab movement, is the Ikhwan brotherhoods, and also it's like an example to other movements. And at the end, how we can face that, this needs some other discussions, but I would like to say that to run away from this issue, it's not the solution, and it's not what we're supposed to do. Thank you.